Have you ever watched someone be publicly destroyed by people who had no idea they were signing their own death warrant? Get this trash out of here before she embarrasses us all. Victoria Ashford grabbed Zara's arm and shoved her backward. The young black woman stumbled, her simple black dress catching on a champagne table. Preston immediately started filming, zooming in on Zara's face. This is going straight to TikTok. Poor girl thinks she belongs here. Camila snatched the invitation from Zara's hand, waving it above her head like a trophy. Look, everyone, someone's playing dress-up with a fake ticket. She ripped it in half, the pieces fluttering to the marble floor of the Metropolitan Museum. The sound of tearing paper echoed through the sudden silence. Security guards moved closer as the Ashford family formed a circle around Zara, their phones out, recording her humiliation from every angle. 200 elite guests turned to watch the entertainment. Zara bent to collect the torn pieces, her hands trembling slightly as laughter rippled through the crowd. The torn invitation pieces lay scattered like confetti at Zara's feet. She knelt gracefully, collecting each fragment while the Ashford family towered over her, their phones capturing every angle of her humiliation. Ladies and gentlemen, Victoria announced to the growing crowd, her voice dripping with theatrical concern. We have a gatecrasher situation. Some people simply don't understand the meaning of exclusive. Preston adjusted his camera angle, speaking directly into his phone. Guys, you're witnessing peak delusion right here when keeping it real goes horribly wrong. His TikTok was already climbing past 15,000 views. Camila had switched to Instagram Live, her follower count jumping from 23,000 to 28,000 inches real time. This is actually painful to watch, she whispered to her audience. Like, the second-hand embarrassment is killing me right now. The museum's head of security, Mark Jenkins, approached with visible reluctance. Behind him trailed Dr. Evelyn Reed, the museum director, her face tight with professional concern. Mom, Jenkins addressed Zara quietly. I need to verify your invitation status for tonight's event. Victoria's laugh was sharp and cutting. Mark, darling, the evidence is right there on the floor. Clearly forged, probably printed at some Kinko's in Queens. The crowd pressed closer, forming a perfect circle of designer gowns and tailored tuxedos. Phone cameras glinted like predator eyes in the museum lighting. Dr. Reed checked her tablet nervously. The Williams Foundation table. They're listed as our platinum sponsor with a $100,000 contribution. Anyone can steal a foundation name, Preston interrupted, still filming. Dad, didn't you handle corporate security at Goldman? Tell them about identity theft. Richard Ashford pushed through the crowd, his phone buzzing incessantly. What's all this commotion? I have the Williams text signing at 9 a.m. sharp tomorrow morning. Our $750 million partnership depends on it. Handle your business calls later, Richard, Victoria snapped. We're dealing with a social emergency here. The event coordinator, Jessica Lee, appeared with her clipboard, whispering urgently to Jenkins. Sir, the live auction starts in 8 minutes. We need to resolve this quickly. Zara finally stood, the torn invitation pieces carefully arranged in her palm. Her voice was steady, almost serene. I understand there's been some confusion about my presence here tonight. Confusion? Camila laughed into her phone. Girl, there's no confusion. You don't belong here. This isn't a community center fundraiser. The comments on her live stream exploded. Why won't security just remove her? This is so cringe. Poor girl doesn't realize. Someone should help her understand. A distinguished elderly man in the crowd, Judge Eleanor Vance's husband, began recording discreetly with his phone. His expression grew more troubled with each passing moment. Dr. Alani Davis, a prominent surgeon, leaned toward her husband. This doesn't feel right. They're being unnecessarily cruel. Victoria heard the whisper and turned sharply. Alani, surely you understand the importance of maintaining standards. These events require appropriate boundaries. Appropriate boundaries? Dr. Davis's eyebrows rose. Or appropriate prejudices? The tension in the room shifted perceptibly. Some guests began looking uncomfortable, sensing the ugly turn the evening had taken. Preston sensed the mood change and doubled down, addressing his growing TikTok audience. Sometimes reality hits hard, people. Not everyone gets to live the dream. The video was approaching 50,000 views. Jenkins cleared his throat. Miss, do you have any other form of identification that might help us resolve this matter? Before Zara could respond, Victoria stepped forward again. Mark, we don't have time for this charade. The Ashford family has donated over $2 million to this museum. Our word should be sufficient. She gestured dismissively at Zara's simple attire. Look at her, for heaven's sake. Does she look like someone who belongs at a $10,000 per plate charity gala? The dress is from Target. The shoes are from Payless. This is embarrassing for everyone involved. Richard's phone buzzed again. He glanced at the screen. Marcus Williams. Urgent. He declined the call, focusing on his wife's performance. Camila zoomed in on Zara's clutch with her phone camera. Even her purse looks fake. Like, girl, we can tell the difference between real Bottega and a knockoff from Canal Street. The crowd murmured agreement. Someone called out, just have security escort her out quietly. Another voice, this is getting uncomfortable to watch. A third, someone should call this into page 6. Zara's phone buzzed insistently in her clutch. The screen, briefly visible to nearby guests, showed Dad, Marcus Williams, with multiple missed call notifications. She declined the call without speaking. Victoria pounced on the moment. Even her phone calls are disruptive. This is exactly what I mean about appropriate behavior in civilized society. Jenkins looked increasingly uncomfortable. Ma'am, if you could just show me some identification. She already showed you her fake invitation, Preston interjected. What more proof do you need that she's lying? The museum's official photographer had been discreetly documenting the confrontation from multiple angles. The images would later become evidence in ways none of them could imagine. Dr. Reed checked her watch. 8:52 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, our live auction begins in 3 minutes. Perhaps we could resolve this first, Victoria finished firmly. She turned to address the entire crowd. Before we proceed with tonight's festivities, we need to handle this security breach appropriately. The circle of elite guests tightened around Zara like a designer-clad noose. What had started as curious observation transformed into active participation as more socialites pulled out their phones, turning the humiliation into prime social media content. This is actually insane, whispered Manhattan socialite Chloe Bishop into her phone, live streaming to her 45,000 Instagram followers, like watching a social suicide in real time. Victoria sensed the crowd's energy and fed off it, raising her voice theatrically. Ladies and gentlemen, this is precisely why exclusive events matter. Without proper screening, anyone can waltz in and contaminate the atmosphere. Preston had switched to a second TikTok account, this one focused on cringe content. His follower count climbed past 75,000 as he provided running commentary. Update. Security still hasn't removed her. This is getting painful, guys. Judge Eleanor Vance stepped forward, her authority commanding immediate attention. Victoria, as someone who's presided over discrimination cases, I must say this young woman appears calm and respectful. Perhaps we should. Eleanor, your legal expertise is admirable, Victoria interrupted smoothly, but this is about social standards, not courtroom procedures. Camila had positioned herself for the perfect angle, her Instagram Live now pulling 35,000 viewers. The comments streamed relentlessly. Why is she still there? Security is useless. This is so awkward. Someone help that poor girl realize. Dr. Reed frantically checked her tablet, cross-referencing donor lists. The Williams Foundation is definitely our platinum sponsor. $100,000 contribution confirmed. Foundation names can be stolen, Richard Ashford interjected, finally pocketing his buzzing phone. Corporate identity theft is more common than you think. Jenkins approached Zara with visible reluctance. Miss, I'm going to need you to come with me to verify your credentials privately. No. Victoria's voice cut through the murmur. This needs to be handled transparently. We've all witnessed the situation unfold. Privacy would only enable further deception. The crowd murmured agreement. Someone called out, make her prove she belongs here. Dr. Davis shook her head in disgust, pulling her husband aside. Charles, I've never seen anything this cruel at a charity event. Should we intervene? He whispered back. How? They have her surrounded. Zara remained motionless in the center of the circle, still holding the torn invitation pieces. Her composure was unnerving. No tears, no anger, no defensive explanations, just quiet dignity that somehow made the situation more disturbing. Preston sensed the crowd's discomfort and escalated his performance. Guys, I think she's in shock, like reality is finally hitting her. He zoomed in on her face. This is what delusion looks like when it crashes into truth. The museum's official photographer continued documenting everything. His professional eye captured the power dynamics, the racial undertones, the mob mentality of New York's supposed elite. Camila noticed other high-profile attendees in the background of her live stream and tagged them frantically. At Manhattan Moms at Elite NYC at Luxury Lifestyle NY. Come see this disaster in person. Her tags worked. More influencers arrived, phones ready, sensing viral content. The circle expanded to include fashion bloggers, society reporters, and wannabe social media stars. This is Megan Hayes, reporting live from the Met's charity auction, announced a young woman with a press badge, speaking into her phone. We're witnessing an unprecedented security situation involving a possible gate crasher. The crowd's phones created a constellation of recording lights, documenting every angle of Zara's humiliation. Later, investigators would count 37 separate video recordings of the incident. Dr. Reed tried once more for control. Perhaps we could move this to my office. Absolutely not, Victoria declared. Public problems require public solutions. This young woman chose to make a spectacle. She can face the consequences publicly. Jenkins looked desperately uncomfortable. Ma'am, policy requires we handle these situations discreetly. Your policy clearly isn't working, Richard interrupted. The Ashford family has been supporting this institution for 15 years. Our judgment should carry weight here. Zara's phone buzzed again, the screen briefly visible. Dad, emergency. Answer now. 17 missed calls. She declined again without speaking. Preston pounced. Even her fake emergency calls won't save her now. Daddy's imaginary money can't buy her way out of this. The crowd laughed. Someone shouted, "Just call the real police." Another voice, "This is taking forever. Can't security just drag her out?" Judge Vance tried again. "Victoria, this has gone too far. The young woman hasn't caused any actual disturbance." "Her very presence is a disturbance," Camila snapped, still live streaming. "Some of us paid serious money to be here. We shouldn't have to deal with this." The comment section exploded with agreement. "Exactly. Know your place. So entitled. Security is weak." Dr. Davis finally stepped forward. "I'm leaving. This is disgusting." She turned to her husband. "Charles, we're going. I won't be part of this lynch mob." Victoria's eyes flashed dangerously. "Alani, if you can't handle maintaining social standards, perhaps you should reconsider your membership on our hospital board." The threat hung in the air. "Doctor," Davis stopped walking, her career suddenly on the line. Preston seized the moment. "And that's how it's done, people. Sometimes reality requires enforcement." His second TikTok had reached 120,000 views. The elderly businessman who'd been quietly recording finally spoke up. "Young man, I've seen enough. This behavior is reprehensible." "Sir, with respect, you don't understand the situation," Richard replied smoothly. "We're protecting the integrity of this institution." "You're destroying it," the man shot back. Victoria raised her hand for silence, her voice carrying across the marble hall. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've been more than patient. Security, I'm formally requesting this trespasser be removed from the premises immediately." The crowd erupted in applause. Phone cameras captured the moment from every angle as Jenkins reluctantly approached Zara. "Miss, I'm sorry, but I have to ask you to leave." Zara looked up at him, her eyes calm and clear. "I understand your position, Officer Jenkins." The fact that she knew his name surprised him. She reached into her clutch, not for identification, not for money, but for her phone. "Actually," she said quietly, speed dialing a number, "I think it's time I made a phone call." The phone rang once before connecting. "Hi, Dad. Yes, I'm still at the Met Museum. Actually, I think you should know what the Ashford family really thinks about our community." Zara's voice carried clearly across the marble hall. The crowd's chatter died instantly as 300 guests strained to hear the conversation. Victoria's triumphant smile flickered. Something in Zara's tone, calm, authoritative, familiar, sent a chill down her spine. "I'm here with Victoria, Preston, Richard, and Camila Ashford," Zara continued, her eyes never leaving Victoria's face. "They've been very educational tonight." Dr. Reed's face went ashen. She grabbed her tablet, frantically scrolling through donor files. Her fingers trembled as she cross-referenced names, sponsors, and foundation records. The Williams Foundation, Marcus Williams, CEO, Williams Tech Corporation. She looked up, horror dawning. "Oh my God. Oh my God." Preston's TikTok stream captured the museum director's reaction in real time. His 85,000 viewers watched her face transform from confusion to absolute terror. Comments exploded. "What's happening? Who is Marcus Williams? Why does the director look like she's dying?" Richard Ashford's business mind made the connection first. His phone had been buzzing all evening with 17 missed calls from Marcus Williams, the the Williams Tech CEO. The same Marcus Williams whose $750 million partnership would save Ashford Industries from bankruptcy. The same Marcus Williams he was supposed to meet at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning to sign the papers. His face drained of color as the implications crashed over him like a tsunami. Marcus Williams, he whispered, the words barely audible. The Marcus Williams. Judge Vance pulled out her own phone, quickly searching. Her voice carried across the crowd as she read, Marcus Williams, CEO and founder of Williams Tech Corporation, net worth $12.7 billion. Forbes' richest Americans list. Philanthropist. The crowd heard fragments as others began searching. Tech empire. Billionaire. Williams Tech. That, Williams? Several socialites gasped audibly. Chloe Bishop nearly dropped her phone mid-live stream. The fashion blogger Megan Hayes stopped her reporting entirely, her face going pale. Zara continued her phone conversation, her voice growing slightly colder. Dad, they tore up our foundation's invitation, called it fake, said I was. What was the phrase? Preston. Worthless trash that needed to be removed before I embarrassed everyone. Preston's phone shook violently in his hands. His TikTok audience watched in real time as the blood drained from his face. The comment section shifted from mockery to shock. Wait, what? Is she serious? Marcus Williams has a daughter? This family is about to be destroyed. Camila's Instagram live chat erupted in chaos. Oh my God, that's the Williams. She's Marcus Williams' daughter, the tech billionaire. Holy, they're screwed. Screen recording everything. Victoria grabbed Richard's arm with manicured nails, her grip desperate. Tell me this isn't happening. Tell me that's not actually the Marcus Williams whose company partnership is the only thing standing between us and bankruptcy. Richard, she whispered, her voice cracking. The $750 million joint venture we're signing tomorrow morning. The deal that saves our entire empire. Dr. Reed's voice cut through the crowd, shaking with panic. Miss Williams, Zara Williams, I am so deeply, profoundly sorry. There's been a terrible, horrible misunderstanding. Actually, Dr. Reed, there's been no misunderstanding at all. Zara's voice remained perfectly calm, almost serene. Everyone here has seen exactly who the Ashford family really is, when they think nobody important is watching. The crowd's phones continued recording, but the energy had completely shifted. What moments before had been entertainment was now becoming evidence. Criminal evidence, civil evidence, career-destroying evidence. Jenkins backed away from Zara, his hand instinctively moving to his radio. Ma'am, Miss Williams, I had absolutely no idea. I was just following orders. Of course you didn't, Officer Jenkins. That was precisely the point of tonight, to see how people treat others when they think there are no consequences. Zara held up the torn invitation pieces, each fragment catching the light. This is what the Ashford family thinks of a $100,000 charity donation, of the foundation that funds arts education for underprivileged children across New York. Victoria's mouth opened and closed soundlessly, like a fish drowning in air. Her social media performance had become a public relations nightmare, being broadcast live to tens of thousands of viewers across multiple platforms. Preston desperately tried to end his TikTok stream, but his panicked fingers couldn't find the right buttons. His 94,000 viewers watched him fumble with the phone in real time, comments flooding in. Don't stop recording. This is legendary. Screen recording everything. Best plot twist in history. Camila had better reflexes, ending her Instagram live immediately. But 43,000 viewers had witnessed everything from start to finish. Screenshots and screen recordings were already spreading across TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at viral velocity. Dad, Zara continued into her phone. Should I mention that Preston has been filming this entire incident for TikTok? That Camila live-streamed my humiliation to over 40,000 followers? That Victoria announced to 200 of New York's elite that I was trash who needed to be removed from civilized society. Richard tried desperately to salvage the situation, stepping forward with his hands raised. Miss Williams, Zara, please, there's been a terrible mistake. My family, we had absolutely no idea who you were. No idea about what, Mr. Ashford? No idea that black people can afford charity gala tickets? No idea that someone in a Target dress might have generational wealth? Or no idea that your actions have consequences that extend beyond your little social bubble? The crowd pressed closer, phones still recording from every conceivable angle. The power dynamic had completely reversed. The Ashford family now stood in the center of the circle, surrounded by cameras documenting their public destruction. Dr. Alani Davis stepped forward, her voice carrying professional authority. As a medical professional and witness to everything that happened here tonight, I can testify that this was systematic discrimination, deliberate, calculated, and cruel. Judge Vance nodded grimly. I've presided over enough discrimination cases to recognize textbook racial profiling when I witness it firsthand. The elderly businessman who'd been quietly recording spoke up. Young lady, I have the entire incident documented on my phone, from the moment they called you worthless trash until this very second. Zara's phone conversation continued, audible to everyone in the deadly silence. Dad, they want to remove me from the charity gala that our foundation sponsors, the museum where we donated $2.8 million last year alone. Victoria finally found her voice, though it came out as barely more than a whisper. Please, your father, our companies. This partnership deal means everything to us. Victoria, Zara said quietly, ending her call and pocketing her phone. You just spent 37 minutes telling 200 people that I was worthless trash who didn't belong in civilized society. You filmed it. You broadcast it live. You made my humiliation into entertainment for your social media followers. She gestured to the crowd of phones still recording. What exactly did you think was going to happen when the truth came out? Preston's TikTok was still running, now showing his own terror-stricken face as reality crashed down. The comment section had become a tsunami. This is legendary. Family just destroyed their own empire. Best plot twist ever. They messed with the wrong family. This is going down in history. Richard's phone rang, the sound cutting through the silence like a knife. He looked at the screen with shaking hands. Marcus Williams. Urgent. Answer now. With trembling fingers, he answered. Marcus, I can explain everything. The voice that came through the speaker was ice cold, audible to everyone in the sudden quiet. Richard, I'm 3 minutes away from the museum. Don't you dare move. 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. The museum's marble hall had transformed into a corporate courtroom with 200 elite witnesses holding their phones like evidence collectors. The Ashford family stood frozen in the center while Zara remained calm at the periphery, checking her messages. Her phone buzzed with a text, visible to nearby guests. Dad, board emergency meeting moved to 10 p.m. tonight. Ashford partnership under review. The massive museum doors opened with an echo that silenced every whisper. Marcus Williams entered like a force of nature, 6'2", impeccably dressed in a charcoal Tom Ford suit, flanked by 2 assistants and what appeared to be legal counsel. His presence commanded immediate attention. Conversations died mid-sentence. Phones lowered slightly as the crowd recognized power when it walked into a room. Good evening, Marcus said, his voice carrying easily across the hall. His eyes swept the crowd before settling on his daughter. Zara, are you all right? She nodded once. I'm fine, Dad. Just educated. Marcus's gaze shifted to the Ashford family. Victoria, Preston, and Camila had unconsciously huddled behind Richard, as if he could shield them from the approaching storm. Richard, Marcus said, his voice deceptively calm. I received an interesting phone call from my daughter. Something about your family's approach to community relations. Dr. Reed rushed forward, tablet in hand, her professional composure completely shattered. Mr. Williams, I am mortified by what happened here tonight. The museum takes full responsibility. Marcus held up one hand, stopping her mid-sentence. Dr. Reed, you're not responsible for the Ashford family's behavior, but you are responsible for how your institution responds to it. He turned back to Richard, who was visibly sweating despite the museum's climate control. Let's discuss some numbers, shall we? Ashford Industries' current debt load, $1.2 billion. Your stock price, down 73% this year. Your quarterly losses, $89 million. Richard's face went gray. These were private financial details, not public knowledge. Without our partnership, Marcus continued, your company has approximately 67 days before bankruptcy. With it, you projected a return to profitability within 18 months. He paused, letting the financial reality sink in. Past tense, Richard. Projected. Preston's hands shook as he tried to process the magnitude of what was happening. His TikTok was still live, now showing 127,000 viewers watching his family's empire crumble in real time. Marcus's assistant, a sharp-dressed woman with a tablet, stepped forward. Sir, Shall I read the social media documentation? Please. Her voice was clinical, professional. Preston Ashford's TikTok account. 4 videos posted tonight. Combined viewership, 347,000 and climbing. Content includes calling Miss Williams trash, delusional, and suggesting she doesn't belong in civilized society. Preston tried to interrupt. I was just Camila Ashford's Instagram live stream, the assistant continued. Broadcast to 43,000 viewers. Duration, 37 minutes. Content includes mockery of misquote. Williams's appearance, accusations of crashing the event, and encouragement of public humiliation. Camila's face was the color of ash. Her influencer career was evaporating in real time as brand partnerships received thousands of angry messages. Victoria Ashford, the assistant concluded, documented making physical contact with Miss Williams, destroying her invitation, and calling for security to remove the trash. Victoria finally found her voice. Marcus, please. I made a terrible mistake. I had no idea who Zara was. Stop! Marcus's voice cut like ice. Victoria, you didn't mistake my daughter's identity. You saw a young black woman in a simple dress and decided she didn't deserve basic human dignity. He gestured to the crowd. You made that decision in front of 200 witnesses. You filmed it. You broadcast it. You made it entertaining. Dr. Davis stepped forward. Mr. Williams, I witnessed the entire incident. Your daughter handled herself with remarkable grace under circumstances that were inexcusable. Judge Vance nodded. As someone who's presided over discrimination cases, what I witnessed tonight was textbook harassment based on racial assumptions. Marcus's legal counsel spoke up. We have 37 separate video recordings of tonight's incident from 17 different angles. The documentation is comprehensive. Richard desperately tried to salvage something from the wreckage. Marcus, surely this personal matter, shouldn't affect our business relationship, our companies. Our companies? Marcus's eyebrows rose. Richard, my company partners exclusively with organizations that share our values. Tonight, your family demonstrated exactly what values you prioritize. He turned to address the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, you've all witnessed something remarkable tonight. A family willing to publicly humiliate a young woman for entertainment. A family that sees charity events as opportunities to enforce social hierarchies. His voice grew colder. The question is, what kind of business culture do you think that family creates? How do they treat employees who don't look like them? Customers who don't dress like them? Communities that don't share their privilege? Preston's phone was blowing up with notifications. His TikTok comment section had become a nightmare. Your family is disgusting. This is what racism looks like. Hope your company goes bankrupt. Screen recording everything. Marcus pulled out his phone. Richard, I'm going to make a conference call. My board of directors is waiting. He dialed, putting the call on speaker. Gentlemen, I'm at the Met Museum with the Ashford family. You've all received the video documentation of tonight's incident. A voice came through clearly. Marcus, we've reviewed the materials. The board's position is unanimous. Another board member. The partnership agreement contained explicit clauses about corporate values alignment. This appears to be a clear violation. Richard's voice cracked. Please, our employees, thousands of jobs depend on this partnership. Richard, Marcus said quietly, you should have thought about your employees before you allowed your family to publicly humiliate mine. Zara spoke for the first time since her father's arrival. Dad, I'd like to suggest something. All eyes turned to her. The crowd leaned forward, phones capturing every word. The Ashford family has shown us who they are, but they could also show us who they're willing to become. Victoria looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. Complete public accountability, Zara continued. Public apologies to everyone who witnessed tonight's events. Mandatory bias training for the entire Ashford Industries Board. A $10 million fund for organizations fighting discrimination. And quarterly diversity audits by an independent firm. She paused, her voice growing stronger. If they're willing to do the work, real work, not just damage control, then maybe they deserve a chance to prove they can change. Marcus studied his daughter's face. And if they're not willing, then they'll have 67 days to explain to their employees why their jobs disappeared. Because the executives couldn't treat a black woman with basic respect at a charity gala. The silence stretched for 30 seconds. Richard looked at his family, then at the phones still recording, then at the financial ruin awaiting them. Finally, he nodded. We accept all conditions. Marcus's phone buzzed with a text. He glanced at it, then looked up. The board meeting has been postponed until tomorrow at 10 a.m. You have 18 hours to begin demonstrating that your acceptance isn't just words. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Richard? The partnership terms have changed. It's now a probationary agreement, subject to quarterly review based on your family's demonstrated commitment to change. As Marcus and Zara walked toward the exit, Preston's TikTok captured their departure. The comment section was unanimous. Legendary. Justice served. Best plot twist ever. They chose the right response. 6 months later, the Metropolitan Museum annual report. The same marble hall where Zara Williams faced public humiliation now hosted a very different kind of gathering. The Williams-Ashford Corporate Responsibility Summit drew 300 business leaders, diversity consultants, and civil rights advocates. Dr. Evelyn Reed stood at the podium, her voice carrying across the crowd with newfound confidence. 6 months ago, this museum witnessed an incident that could have destroyed lives and companies. Instead, it became a catalyst for unprecedented change. In the front row, the Ashford family sat with markedly different postures. Victoria wore a simple navy dress, no diamonds, no designer labels, and took careful notes as speakers discussed unconscious bias. Preston had traded his TikTok fame for genuine advocacy, his phone now recording testimonials from scholarship recipients. Camila's Instagram had transformed from luxury lifestyle content to educational posts about privilege and accountability. Richard Ashford approached the microphone, his hands steady, but his voice carrying the weight of hard-learned lessons. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to share some numbers with you. Not financial projections or market analyses, but human impact data. He clicked his first slide. Ashford Industries diversity statistics from 6 months ago. 3% Black employees in leadership roles, 12% women in executive positions. 0 minority-owned suppliers in our top vendor tier. The crowd listened intently as he continued. Today's numbers: 31% minority leadership, 47% women executives, 35% of our supply chain contracts with minority-owned businesses. Dr. Angela Rodriguez, Ashford Industries' new Chief Diversity Officer and former Williams Tech executive, joined Richard at the podium. These changes weren't just policy updates. They required complete cultural transformation. She gestured to a large screen displaying employee testimonials. Marcus Johnson, promoted from warehouse supervisor to regional operations manager. Maria Santos, whose innovative logistics proposal saved the company $2.3 million annually. Dr. James Brooks, whose R&D team just secured our most profitable patent in 5 years. The audience saw faces that reflected America's diversity employees who had been overlooked, undervalued, or completely excluded under the old system. Victoria rose from her seat, approaching the microphone with visible nervousness. The same woman who had commanded the room 6 months ago with cruel confidence now spoke with genuine humility. I want to address the elephant in the room, she began. 6 months ago, I publicly humiliated a young woman based on nothing but racist assumptions. I destroyed her invitation, called her trash, and tried to have her removed from an event her family sponsored. Her voice strengthened as she continued, I've spent these months in intensive bias training, volunteering in Harlem community centers, and, most importantly, listening to people I had spent 50 years ignoring. She clicked a photo of herself serving meals at a community kitchen. This is Sarah Martinez, age 67, former hotel housekeeper. She taught me that dignity isn't determined by designer labels. This is Michael Williams, age 34, software engineer. He helped me understand that intelligence doesn't correlate with zip codes or skin color. Preston stepped forward, his transformation perhaps the most dramatic. The young man who had filmed Zara's humiliation for TikTok entertainment now spoke with quiet authority. My videos from that night have been viewed over 2.8 million times across platforms. Initially, I was mortified, but then I realized, good. Let people see what privilege and prejudice look like when they think nobody important is watching. He showed his phone screen to the crowd. This is my new TikTok content. Last week, explaining implicit bias to Gen Z audiences, 847,000 views. The week before, interviewing HBCU students about career barriers, 1.2 million views. The comment sections he displayed showed a remarkable shift. This is real education, using his platform for good now. Redemption arc complete. Camila's transformation was equally profound. The woman whose Instagram live stream had broadcast Zara's humiliation to 43,000 followers now used her platform for social justice education. "I lost 89,000 followers initially," she admitted, "but I gained something more valuable, a community of people committed to real change." My Privilege Check series reaches 200,000 people monthly with content about recognizing and dismantling systemic advantages. She showed screenshots of her recent posts, partnerships with civil rights organizations, fundraisers for educational nonprofits, honest discussions about wealth inequality. Marcus Williams took the stage, his presence still commanding but warmer than that night 6 months ago. The question everyone asks is, why did we give them a second chance? Why not simply destroy them and move on? He paused, scanning the audience. Because destruction is easy, transformation is hard, and transformation creates lasting change that benefits everyone. The screen behind him displayed financial data. The Williams-Ashford partnership has generated $1.22 billion in revenue this year. But more importantly, it's created 2,470 new jobs, with 67% going to candidates from underrepresented communities. Dr. Davis, who had witnessed the original incident, stood to speak. "As someone who initially wanted to leave that night, I'm grateful I stayed to see what accountability and action looks like." She gestured to a display board showing concrete outcomes. The Ashford Family Foundation has donated $15 million to HBCU scholarships, minority business incubators, and criminal justice reform organizations. But beyond the money, they've donated their time, their platform, and their willingness to be uncomfortable while learning. Judge Vance added her perspective. "In 30 years on the bench, I've seen how discrimination cases usually end, with legal settlements and no real change. This represents something different, voluntary, comprehensive, sustained transformation." The summit's most powerful moment came when Zara herself took the stage. Now 25, serving as Williams Tech's Vice President of Corporate Social Impact, she commanded the room with quiet authority. 6 months ago, I stood in this same space being called trash, having my invitation torn up, and facing security guards who wanted to remove me from a charity event my family sponsored. She gestured to the audience. Today, this room is full of executives who've implemented bias training, entrepreneurs who've changed their hiring practices, and young people who found the courage to speak up when they witness injustice. Her voice grew stronger. The Ashford family's behavior that night was inexcusable, but their response afterward has been extraordinary. Real change requires both accountability for past harm and commitment to future growth. She clicked to her final slide. Photos of the scholarship recipients, the promoted employees, the new diversity initiatives spreading across corporate America. 23 Fortune 500 companies have adopted similar accountability protocols. 17 universities now require implicit bias training for all students. 8 states have passed legislation based on what they witnessed here. The room erupted in applause as Zara concluded. That night, the Ashford family showed us the worst of who they were. These past 6 months, they've shown us the best of who they can become. Victoria approached the microphone one final time. "I can't undo what I did that night, but I can spend the rest of my life ensuring it never happens again. Not by me, not by my family, and not in any organization we influence." The summit concluded with a commitment ceremony. 47 companies signed pledges to implement comprehensive diversity programs. The Metropolitan Accord became a template for corporate accountability nationwide. As the crowd dispersed, Preston's final TikTok of the day showed him shaking hands with scholarship recipients. His caption was simple: "Growth is possible. Accountability works. Change is real." 2 years later, the legacy effect. Zara Williams stood before the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, addressing delegates from 193 countries. At 27, she had become the youngest person ever to deliver the keynote address on corporate accountability and social justice. 2 years ago, I was publicly humiliated at a charity gala by people who judged me solely on my appearance, she began, her voice carrying across the assembly hall. Today, that incident has sparked a global movement that's transformed how businesses approach diversity, equity, and inclusion. The massive screen behind her displayed staggering statistics. The Metropolitan model had been adopted by 1,247 companies worldwide. Corporate discrimination complaints had decreased by 34% in participating organizations. Minority hiring and leadership roles had increased by 89%. But numbers tell only part of the story, Zara continued. The real impact lives in the individual, lives changed, the barriers removed, the voices finally heard, the Ashford family's complete transformation. Victoria Ashford, now a certified diversity consultant, addressed Fortune 500 boards monthly about unconscious bias. Her autobiography, The $750 Million Lesson, Learning to See My Own Privilege, had become required reading in business ethics courses at 47 universities. In her Manhattan office, Victoria reviewed testimonials from the 2,847 executives who had completed her intensive bias training program. The woman who once called Zara trash now helped others recognize their own prejudices before they caused irreparable harm. Each workshop begins the same way, Victoria explained to a documentary crew filming her story. I show them the video from that night. I make them watch me destroy an invitation, call a young woman worthless, and try to have her removed from an event her family sponsored. She paused, the memory still painful. Then I ask them, what assumptions are you making right now about the people around you? What prejudices are hiding in your blind spots? Preston Ashford had leveraged his viral infamy into something remarkable. His TikTok account, @PrivilegeCheck, reached 3.2 million followers with content about recognizing and dismantling systemic advantages. His series, Growing Up Rich and Wrong, had been viewed 47 million times. His latest video showed him mentoring inner-city teenagers in entrepreneurship. The comments section, once filled with mockery, now overflowed with gratitude. You saved my career by teaching me to check my bias. Your vulnerability gives me hope. Real growth looks like this. Camila's Instagram transformation was equally profound. Her Accountability Journey series documented her evolution from tone-deaf socialite to social justice advocate. Her 890,000 followers engaged with content about wealth inequality, educational access, and criminal justice reform. Her most viral post showed her working at a community legal clinic, captioned, 2 years ago, I live-streamed someone's humiliation for entertainment. Today, I'm using my platform to amplify voices that deserve to be heard. Corporate America's seismic shift. Richard Ashford addressed the National Association of Corporate Directors, sharing results that had shocked industry analysts. When we implemented comprehensive diversity initiatives, our skeptics predicted decreased efficiency and increased costs. He clicked to financial projections that defied conventional wisdom. Instead, employee productivity increased 23%. Customer satisfaction rose 31%. Our stock price has outperformed the S&P 500 by 67% over 2 years. Dr. Angela Rodriguez, now serving as Chief Diversity Officer for 3 companies simultaneously, had become the most sought-after executive in corporate America. The metropolitan model isn't about charity or goodwill, she explained to Harvard Business School students. It's about unlocking human potential that was previously ignored or suppressed. Her data was irrefutable. Companies implementing the full protocol saw average revenue increases of 18% within 18 months. The business case for justice had become undeniable, the ripple effect across society. The incident's impact extended far beyond corporate boardrooms. Dr. Alani Davis had used her experience as a witness to establish the Dignity in Healthcare initiative, training medical professionals to recognize and eliminate bias in patient care. I watched a young woman maintain her composure under circumstances designed to break her spirit, Dr. Davis told medical residents. That night taught me that dignity isn't something you can take from someone. It's something they choose to maintain, regardless of how others behave. Judge Vance had incorporated lessons from that night into her courtroom procedures, implementing new protocols to ensure equal treatment, regardless of a defendant's appearance, accent, or socioeconomic status. Justice isn't just about legal precedent, she explained to law students. It's about examining our assumptions and ensuring they don't compromise our judgment. The global movement. The Metropolitan Accord had inspired international legislation. The European Union passed comprehensive corporate accountability laws. 7 African nations implemented similar protocols for multinational corporations operating within their borders. Australia's parliament debated mandatory bias training for all public sector employees. Zara's documentary, Dignity Interrupted, had been translated into 23 languages and screened at film festivals worldwide. The night that was meant to humiliate her had become a masterclass in grace under pressure. Personal growth and healing. Marcus Williams reflected on the journey during a quiet moment with his daughter in their home office. I've watched you transform pain into purpose, humiliation into hope. That's not just leadership, Zara. That's heroism. Zara smiled, reviewing applications for the Williams Foundation's latest initiative, a $50 million fund supporting young entrepreneurs from underrepresented communities. Dad, I learned something important that night. The people who try to diminish you are often revealing their own insecurities, not your inadequacies. She gestured to photos covering their wall scholarship recipients, promoted employees, families lifted out of poverty through the programs sparked by that night's incident. Sometimes the most important moments in history look like personal failures at the time. The continuing evolution. Preston's latest TikTok series, Conversations I Should Have Had Years Ago, featured him speaking with people his family had previously overlooked. Service workers, immigrants, formerly incarcerated individuals. Each conversation revealed wisdom and dignity that privilege had previously blinded him to. Victoria's community work had evolved beyond penance into genuine passion. She spent Saturdays teaching financial literacy in underserved neighborhoods, her designer wardrobe replaced by practical clothes suited for real work with real people. Camila had enrolled in law school, specializing in civil rights advocacy. Her social media influence now drove policy discussions rather than fashion trends. The call to action. As Zara concluded her UN address, she issued a challenge that would define the next phase of the movement. Every day, each of us faces moments where we can choose dignity over prejudice, inclusion over exclusion, growth over comfort. The assembly hall remained silent as she continued. The question isn't whether you'll face these moments, you will. The question is, what will you choose? Will you be someone who diminishes others to elevate yourself? Or will you be someone who lifts others to heights you never imagined possible? Your turn to act. Have you witnessed discrimination in your workplace, community, or social circles? Share your story in the comments below. Your voice matters in this ongoing conversation about dignity and justice. Tag 3 people who exemplify inclusive leadership and tell them why their example inspires you. Change spreads through networks of courage and accountability. Research the companies you support as consumers and investors. Do they demonstrate a genuine commitment to equality, or are they simply performing diversity without depth? Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring accounts of resilience, transformation, and the power of choosing dignity over revenge. Ring that notification bell and join our community of viewers committed to creating a world where everyone's worth is recognized. Share this video with someone who needs to see that their dignity matters, that their voice counts, that their presence in any space is valuable and valid. Remember, true power isn't the ability to humiliate others. It's the wisdom to transform moments of crisis into opportunities for growth, understanding, and lasting positive change. Sometimes the most important deals aren't measured in dollars. They're measured in the dignity we preserve, the justice we create, and the future we build. A valuable lesson from this story. The true measure of a person or a company isn't whether they make a mistake. It's how they respond once that mistake is brought to light. This story shows that while prejudice and arrogance can lead to swift destruction, true accountability, humility, and a genuine commitment to change can build a legacy far stronger than the one that was lost. Dignity isn't about the price of your dress. It's about the quality of your character. Join the conversation. What part of this story impacted you the most? Do you believe the Ashford family's transformation was genuine or just good business? Share your thoughts in the comments below. For more powerful stories of justice, accountability, and real-world consequences, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell.